Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roach Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Now, around a month ago, Wisconsin hired Luke Fickell to be their next head football coach. And a lot of people think that was a slam dunk hire. And it definitely has the potential to be because Luke Fickell, we know what he did at Cincinnati. He's done a really great job as head coach. But I'm going to go over whether I think Luke Fickell can win a Big Ten championship or multiple Big Ten championships in the Big Ten, potentially a national title, and what his ceiling and floor is as the head coach at Wisconsin. Now, obviously, it's very tough to know when a head coach gets hired how it's going to turn out because you look at coaches around the country, it happens all the time. Like Scott Frost, people thought when he got hired from UCF to his alma mater at Nebraska, a lot of people thought that was a great hire and everything was going to work out, but it did not. And then other hires like Josh Heupel from UCF to Tennessee, a lot of people didn't think that was going to be as good of a hire, but he's doing really good at Tennessee so far. So even though it's almost impossible to predict whether Luke Fickell is going to be able to succeed off the bat at Wisconsin or how good he's going to do, there are still some signs on whether Luke Fickell is going to be capable of being a great head coach in the Big Ten or not. You look at his record as a head coach. At Ohio State, he was the defensive coordinator, and he got elevated to interim head coach for 1 year when Jim Tressel resigned. And he went 6-7 and 3-5 in the conference. And he had a very rough season for Ohio State standards as the interim head coach. Yes, there was a lot of turmoil. So not all of it's to be blamed on Luke Fickell, but that is a good case for why it might not work out for Luke Fickell because the 1 year that he was at a big program, he did struggle, but I wouldn't take too much from it because, again, all the circumstances that were going on at Ohio State with Jim Tressel resigning, there being allegations, and then Ohio State ended up hiring Urban Meyer after that. I wouldn't take too much into it. It was only 1 year, and Luke Fickell never really got a chance to really build it up at Ohio State. So that one season really should not be taken into consideration. And Luke Fickell was a great defensive coordinator. And after being the interim head coach and defensive coordinator again at Ohio State, he got the Cincinnati head coaching job in 2017. And Cincinnati was a program that was really struggling in football. They do have a history in the past of being a decent program at times, but they were really struggling before Luke Fickell got there. And in 2017, he went 4-8, and they had a bad season. But the prior season before that, Cincinnati wasn't very good either. So Luke Fickell took over a messy situation, and he went 4-8 in his first year. But after that, every single season he was at Cincinnati won. In 2018, they were 11-2 and 6-2, and they won the Military Bowl, and they finished the season ranked. In 2019, they were 11-3 and 7-1 the American. They won the Birmingham Bowl, and they finished the season ranked. And then in 2020, they went 9-1 and 6-0 in the American Conference, and they lost in the Peach Bowl to Georgia. That was a close loss, and they finished in the top 10. And then in 2021, they went 13-1, 8-0 in the American Conference, and they went to the college football playoff, and they lost in the Cotton Bowl to Alabama, and they finished in the top 5. And then in 2022, they went 9-3 and 6-2 in the American Conference. But then he took the Wisconsin job before the bowl game, so he didn't get the result of that bowl game on his record. But Luke Fickell had a great tenure at Cincinnati. Yes, in 2022, they did take a bit of a step back prior to where they were in 2020 and 2021, but he did lose a lot of players to the NFL, and he still had Cincinnati playing really great football, and there was a lot of competition in the American Conference this year from UCF and Tulane and other teams. So Cincinnati overall, in his tenure, he went 57-18 and 35-11 in the American Conference. That is a fantastic record, especially considering if you take out the 2017 year, he only had 10 losses in 5 seasons, and that is a fantastic record overall. And now he is going to Wisconsin. And Wisconsin is a program that right now, they're a 7-6 program. Paul Chryst got fired, and he's having to take over a situation where Wisconsin's not in shambles. They still have a lot of talent, and they still have a lot of good things going for them, but they've been struggling. They've been losing their identity as the best Big Ten West program, and Luke Fickell's been tasked with the job of fixing it. Wisconsin did win their bowl game to help them get some momentum, but now Luke Fickell, in his first year as head coach, is going to have to try to turn Wisconsin around and make them a better program because Wisconsin fans are not at the level of Ohio State fans or Auburn fans where if you're not winning, they want the head coach fired immediately. But Wisconsin is a program that they expect to win a lot, and if you don't win at a high level, then you definitely could be on the way out. So Luke Fickell's definitely going to have to get things rolling out of the gate, and the transfer portal, I think, is going to really help Wisconsin. And you look at Wisconsin's 2023 football recruiting class, they have 14 players that they've recruited, and they don't have the greatest recruiting class overall. They have a couple of 4-star players, and then the rest are 3-star players as you go down the list. But then the transfer portal, you already see the effect of what Luke Fickell's done in a short amount of time. He got Tanner Mordecai, the SMU quarterback transfer and former Oklahoma quarterback, as well out of the portal, and he's a really solid quarterback. That was a great addition. And he's got Nick Evers out of Oklahoma as well. Both quarterbacks will be competing for the starting job. More likely, it's going to be Tanner Mordecai, but he's got two quality quarterbacks, one that he could use in the future and one he can use right now. And he's got a safety and a defensive line guy in the portal from Temple and Boston College, respectively. So you look at Wisconsin, and he's already had an impact. He's hired a lot of good people at the coordinator and assistant coaching level positions. So I think that Luke Fickell's done a really good job to start his coaching tenure. But again, can Luke Fickell get Wisconsin to a level of winning Big Ten championships? Now, I will say there are a couple of things that are going against Wisconsin. Number one, Wisconsin's in the Big Ten West, and that has historically helped them because of the fact that the Big Ten West is a weaker conference and the Big Ten East is a better conference. And Wisconsin's been able to win the West many years and make the Big Ten championship game without actually being one of the best teams in the country. And most of the times they've been blown out by Ohio State in the conference title game. But Wisconsin's been able to get to the Big Ten championship game that way. And if it was still going to be this way where Wisconsin's in the Big Ten West, then Luke Fickell would be able to have a season where he goes like 9-3 and 6-2 in the Big Ten, make the Big Ten championship game, and then give Ohio State or Michigan the best shot that he has and be able to win the Big Ten championship that way. And it would not be as difficult. But now that the Big Ten very soon is going to be getting rid of divisions, you're going to have to play Ohio State and Michigan and all those teams more often in the regular season. And the top two teams in the conference are going to make the conference title game instead of it being one from the East, one from the West. So that's going to hurt Wisconsin. If they were keeping divisions and Wisconsin was still in the West, I would give Luke Fickell's chances of making a conference title game a lot higher than they are going to be now with the divisions being gone, because of the fact, again, you're going to have to be one of the two best teams in the conference to make the conference title game instead of being the Big Ten West winner making it. Plus, adding USC and UCLA, that does not help Wisconsin's case either, because Wisconsin's going to already have to compete with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan in the divisionless conference to make the Big Ten championship game, and potentially some other teams that always rise up, potentially Michigan State or Iowa or Minnesota. Those teams usually compete with Wisconsin as well, but now they're going to have to compete with USC and UCLA, and all those teams are going to be in competition for the Big Ten championship game as well. So I think that Luke Fickell, I think he can get to a Big Ten championship game, and I think he can win a Big Ten championship and maybe several, as long as he stays at Wisconsin for a long period of time. If he stays there for a decade plus, I think he will at least get to one or two. I think he will be able to make a Big Ten championship game maybe a few years down the line. But if he leaves Wisconsin early for the NFL, or if the Ohio State job opens up and he takes that job, or he takes another job, or even if Wisconsin fire him, I don't think Luke Fickell is going to be able to make a Big Ten championship game right off the bat. I think he could down the road, but it would have been a lot easier if Wisconsin was still in the Big Ten West instead of in the divisionless Big Ten. So I think that Luke Fickell can win a Big Ten championship game, but it's going to be a lot harder. Another thing, what is the ceiling and the floor for Luke Fickell-led Wisconsin? I think that Luke Fickell, at his highest, can win a Big Ten championship game in one of their best years. If he can get guys out of the portal like he's already so far proven to be able to do in a small sample size, if he can bring in a lot of talent at Wisconsin and get a lot of players out of the recruiting ranking, get some 4-stars, maybe even some 5-star players every now and then, Wisconsin's going to have to invest as well. They wanted Luke Fickell and they got him, and I think that they're going to have to support Luke Fickell and allow him to get the players that he needs to get. And if they're able to do that, then I think Wisconsin will have a much higher ceiling. But I think at the highest Luke Fickell can achieve, I think he can win a Big Ten championship game. And I think that in a 12-team playoff, obviously they'd make that. And I think that at the highest of heights, potentially Luke Fickell could maybe win a national championship if everything broke their way. Wisconsin, it would take a lot. College football is a lot different than it used to be when Wisconsin was winning a lot of big games in the past. I think it would take a lot for that to happen, but that is the absolute ceiling and a very small, slight chance of that happening. I would give Luke Fickell's chances of winning a national championship probably below 10%. To win a Big Ten championship, if he's there for a decade, I would say Luke Fickell has around a 50% chance. But the floor for Luke Fickell, if things don't go his way, I think Wisconsin would be around a 7-5, 8-4 team, maybe even 6-6 at the very worst. And after 4 or 5 years, Luke Fickell could get fired. I really don't see that happening. Luke Fickell is a stud coach. You saw what he did at Cincinnati. And again, it's really impossible to tell what he's going to do. But based off of Luke Fickell's track record, I think he will succeed at Wisconsin. I don't know if he's going to use Wisconsin as a stepping stone to go somewhere else, but I think he will have success at Wisconsin. And to split the difference from him winning a national title versus Luke Fickell only going 6-6, I think on average Luke Fickell's going to have a lot of 8-4 to 10-2 years, probably around 9-3 as your average. And I think Wisconsin will have a shot to win the Big Ten every now and then under Luke Fickell. And you never know, maybe an occasional national championship. But again, at the worst, I think it would be around 6-6. So again, for Luke Fickell, I think he's going to do a really good job at Wisconsin. I think he's going to have him as one of the better Big Ten programs, and probably around 8-4 to 10-2 on average in most years for the Wisconsin Badgers. But we're just going to have to wait and see. Who knows what Luke Fickell could do? He could definitely overperform what expectations people have for him or underperform, because as always, coaches never perform always the way we expect them to. Some coaches that you think are slam dunk hires don't end up turning out very well, and some coaches that you think are not going to turn out very well end up being some of the greatest coaches in college football. So you never know, but it's going to be very interesting to see what Luke Fickell is able to achieve at Wisconsin, and I can't wait to find out. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think Luke Fickell can achieve at Wisconsin, his ceiling and his floor, and whether he can win a Big Ten championship, and if he does, how many. And I'll see you next time.